Thank you so much for tuning in to Battle with Ola once again. I am Ola, and the full name is Mujola Olua, and I'm super thrilled to be here to talk to you today about arrests. Arrests are very important. It's part of criminal litigation and part of the criminal justice system. So it will be good for law students, especially those in law school. It will be good for laymen, and it will be good for lawyers as well. Something for everything. Arrests or an arrest simply means apprehending someone or taking someone into custody because they have committed a crime or are suspected to have committed a crime or they were caught committing a crime. So that is, we're going to use the WH question method as always to explain what arrest is all about. So when do you arrest? That's what an arrest is. When do you arrest? Before the commission of a crime. If you have reasonable suspicion that someone might commit a crime, they can be arrested. During the commission of a crime, an arrest can be made to prevent the crime. An arrest can be made while the person is committing the crime. So you would be catching them in the act. And an arrest can also be made after the commission of a crime. So maybe there's reports, made after the crime has been committed, or there's reasonable suspicion that this is the person that committed the crime that we're investigating or that has been reported. Then the person or those persons can be apprehended and taken into custody. Now, an arrest is a derogation from the right to personal liberty as enshrined in Section 35 of the Nigerian Constitution, Chapter 4. It provides for right to personal liberty, but you would understand that it is not an absolute right if you can be arrested. And why is an arrest made? To bring such a suspect before the court of law. That's like the primary reason. And of course, to help with investigation. So you bring someone in when you're conducting an investigation. You probably need to interrogate them, to put your facts together, and also ultimately to bring them before the court of law. Very important. Now, that's the why. We'll still talk about who can make an arrest, and then we'll talk about where. Now, an arrest is not a point and kill, situation. It's not that you just, maybe someone just insults you, you say, I'll show you who I am, and then you ring the police, come get this person, they have done this and that. It's very common, especially regarding civil matters. That is not the proper way to go about it. Arrest is for criminal matters. It is to bring a person before the court for the commission of a crime. It is for criminal matters. It is not for civil matters. So you cannot just, because the law enforcement agents are at your beck and call, so to speak, get them to arrest people, at your whims and caprices. It's very, very wrong. It is not a point and kill or free for all situation. Please take note of that. Now, an arrest can be lawful and it can be unlawful. Very important. It is lawful where the person making the arrest is making it for the right purpose and is empowered by law to make such an arrest. And that will lead us to who can make an arrest. Law enforcement agents generally can make an arrest once they are empowered by the law creating them to make an arrest. Policemen can make arrests. NSCDC, that's Nigerian Civil Defense Corps, they can make an arrest. Federal Road Safety Corps, they can make arrests. NDLA, Nigerian Drug Law Enforcement Agencies, they can make they can make an arrest. Their agents can make arrests. DSS, that's Department of State Security, EFCC, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, and like agencies and their agents can make arrests once it can be established that their law, the establishing law empowers them to make an arrest. If you check Section 4 of the Police Act now, for instance, it provides instances where the police can make an arrest, and they are as follows. 1 is to protect lives and properties. 2 is to preserve law and order. 3 is to prevent or detect the commission of a crime. 4 is to enforce laws and regulations. And 5 is to apprehend offenders. So in any of these instances, the police can make an arrest. You would see that the law caters to arrests being made before, during, and after the commission of a crime. So when we talk about where can an arrest be made, it can be made anywhere. Anywhere, the suspect can be found, an arrest can be made in most instances. Anyway, there are some exceptions. For instance, if someone is within the House of Legislature, maybe a sitting is going on, there are some certain provisions, as to some places where you cannot just arrest or make arrests. But generally speaking, anywhere the suspect can be found, an arrest can be made. Now, who can make an arrest? We've talked about law enforcement agents. Private citizens can also make an arrest. For instance, if you're a private citizen, you're going on, you have seen that someone is about to rape, a minor, for instance. You can arrest the person at that time and then hand them over to law enforcement agents. That's an arrest. You do not necessarily have to wait for them to escape, especially if you cannot immediately secure the presence of law enforcement agents. So private citizens can also make an arrest. Arrest can be with warrant or without warrant. When it's with warrant, it means that the warrant has been signed by a member of the by a bench or a member of the bench. That's a judge or a magistrate in Nigeria. They have to sign the warrant. Warrant empowers the law enforcement agents in that instance to make the arrest. And the warrant must contain the name of the judge or magistrate that has signed and the date, for that it was signed. So that's an arrest with warrant. An arrest without warrant can be made in some circumstances. For instance, if you happen upon an armed robber, maybe the police on patrol, they happen upon armed robbers, robbing a family or robbing a house, for instance, they cannot wait to go get a warrant. They can arrest on the spot. So in that instance, you do not need a warrant to make an arrest. In some instances also, the law creating an offense may require that a warrant be executed before an arrest can be made in relation to or in connection to that crime. In that instance, a warrant is necessary and needed. For serious offenses also, a warrant of arrest is necessary. Also, where a summons is disobeyed, a warrant is needed, to make an arrest. A summons is a court order, mandating the presence of someone in court. So if that order is disobeyed, you need a warrant of arrest, to arrest such a person. There are some warrants. For instance, a bench warrant also is necessary to arrest someone that has jumped bail. We talked about this when we're talking about bail. We talked about bail about 2 years ago on the channel, or 3 years ago. Please watch that video on bail. I just, pictured the day and the time when I was, recording that video on bail. So in the instance of someone that has jumped bail, the court will issue a bench warrant, to secure the arrest of that person. So that's all about warrants of arrests. Let me also add that when a warrant of arrest is to be executed, that is when the police or the person bearing the warrant has come to arrest, the suspect or the person about whom the warrant is issued, they are required to show them the warrant and to, disclose it. Oh, you are under arrest, so this is the warrant of arrest, blah, blah, blah. And then they can, check the warrant of arrest and then follow the police officer or the law enforcement agent. So when a warrant of arrest is to be executed, when the officer comes to make the arrest, he should show, or he ought to show, by law he's required to show the person he intends to arrest the warrant and state what it contains. Oh, I have the warrant to arrest you for so. And then the offender or the suspects can check the warrant and then comply with the officer. So arrest is a very civil and it's not as how will I put it? It's not as brutal or difficult or unruly or chaotic now as it sometimes comes out or turns out to be in real life. It's simple. They are arresting you to assist with investigation or because there's reasonable suspicion that you have committed a crime. So I believe that the reason why it's chaotic in most cases would be that the police or the enforcement agents, they do not communicate, what they are doing effectively to the person they're about to arrest. And of course, most people know that once you are arrested, a lot of things goes on or afterwards that you may not be in control of, which should not be. an arrest is not a death sentence. It is not the end of the journey for the person that is being arrested. It's supposed to be a very civil, civil situation. No, civil now, not in the instance of civil and criminal, but civil situation such that they come, they want to arrest you, you know you're going to answer questions, assist with investigations, and if need be, you would be charged to court where you would have the opportunity to defend yourself in good time and with reasonable preparation, afforded, and you'll be afforded reasonable time to prepare and to defend yourself in court. But because that is not the situation, that's why arrests are mostly very chaotic, and most people are trying as much as possible to evade arrests or to slug it out with the law enforcement agents whenever they try to make an arrest. But this is how arrests are supposed to go. And like I said too, you cannot execute a warrant of arrest in court. So if the person you want to arrest is in court, for instance, maybe sitting in a proceeding, or maybe they are even a defendant or a witness giving evidence before the court, or they are generally just in court, you cannot enter court while the proceeding is going on to execute a warrant of arrest. Same way you cannot enter a legislative house in Nigeria to say that you want to execute an arrest, except of course you ask for the permission and it's granted, by the president of that legislature or legislative house. So that's all about arrests. It is to procure the presence of a suspect before the court, and it is made upon reasonable suspicion only, or where the person is caught in the act. So reasonable suspicion could be that you're about to commit a crime, or that you have committed a crime, and it could be while you're committing a crime. An arrest can be made at that point. So that's all I want to talk to you about arrests. Don't forget to leave comments in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe to Battle with Ola. And please buy my books on mediation, my fiction collection of 10 stories and other books, as you will see in the link below. I will see you in my very next video. Don't forget to subscribe to those. Arrests can be lawful and can be unlawful. It is lawful where the person making the arrest is empowered by law to make the arrest. I've told you that a private person can make an arrest, especially if they are apprehending the suspect in the commission of the crime, and the law enforcement agent can also make an arrest. They are empowered by law to make arrests based on reasonable suspicion, or when someone is in the process of committing a crime, and they can make the arrest with or without warrant. For most unserious offenses, misdemeanors, minor offenses, a warrant is not necessary. But in instances of serious offenses, a warrant may be necessary. Where the person has disobeyed court summons, a warrant may be necessary. And a warrant may also be necessary where the law creating the offense has mandated it, So these are instances of lawful arrest. But unlawful arrest would mean that this person has not done anything. Someone just woke up and decided, let me show you, that I have power, or that I have connections, and then they trump up some allegations that are baseless and that cannot be substantiated with evidence, and then they get the law enforcement to arrest this person, or they make the arrest themselves and detain the person, unlawfully. So that's what we can call unlawful arrest. Unlawful arrests can also be arresting someone and detaining them, for longer than the Constitution provides. The Constitution safeguards or protects or supports arrests, up until you can bring the person before the court, and it provides that you should bring the person before the court within reasonable time. So if you do not have sufficient evidence or reasonable suspicion, a person should not be arrested at the whims and caprices of other private citizens or law enforcement agents. In those instances, the arrest will be illegal or unlawful.